I have never, ever seen you with any kind of injury, either in the flesh or in any. It just doesn't exist for you. What is the secret?
Um, Honestly, I feel like it is the warm up. Um, yeah, it is a warm up, and I think it's the time that I take on workouts. Like when I was training last year with Mike, and obviously Mike's retired. He was like, "Yeah, bro, I'm gonna come a little later than you, because obviously like your warm up is mad long." And I was like, "Yeah, man, like I don't want to get hurt."
Welcome back to another episode of George on Sports with me, your host George. And on today's show, we are joined by running back of Rainfire of the European League of Football, Glen Toonga. Glen, thank you for joining the show, and how are you?
Thank you for having me, man. I'm good, man. I'm good. I can't complain. Thank you for having me. Glad to be on the show. I've seen like a few episodes that you've done. I'm like, yeah, this is a nice show. So thank you for having me, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to this because I know you to a certain degree. Obviously, UK ball. A lot of people know your face in terms of the UK and Europe. You've done quite a bit in terms of added your two pence, if you like, to the sport in the UK and in Europe. So we're going to get straight in. But before we talk about American football, I don't know how many people know that your background kind of comes from track and field, but track in particular. Touch on that slightly.
So yeah, I guess I started with like everyone else. I started playing soccer. I didn't quite like it, to be fair. So when I was about like 14, I started doing track. Obviously like your 100, 200, 60 meters. Did that and literally until I got to uni. So like trained, went warm weather training. Never ran at any spectacular times. But I trained in a nice little like close group. And then that was fun. That was literally my life. Like I was one of those guys like, I want to go Olympics, want to go World Championships, doing like winter training, all that stuff, going away from warm weather training. So yeah, I was like, I guess a track guy. So like a lot of the guys that are like obviously big now, like I knew a lot of those guys like from the past. I'm like very like a lot of my training, I guess, comes from like a track background. So yeah.
It's interesting that you say that because for someone like myself who's followed you for a number of years now, and a lot of people who listen and watch your show will have too, it's evident in your training, and that's one of my questions for later on. But it's evident in your training that you can see it's very calculated, it's very formulated. It's not just showing up and doing things. It's you're doing things with a purpose. Like everything is measured, everything is precise. But we are going to come back to that. We're going to come back to that. But track and American football obviously have some similarities in terms of the quick explosiveness of track and American football. Talk about the transferable skills that you would have taken from running track into when you started at the University of Southampton.
I guess like so much when I did track, I was always told that I was quite big and that I'd have to lose weight. So like when I went to uni, I was like, man, like I don't want to lose weight. Or I didn't even know where to start. I was like, I don't think I could lose weight. It's just me. So I went to uni. I was like, I want to try something new. And like from my first session, they told me that you're a running back, and I think that was because like acceleration just came natural to me. Obviously playing like running 60 meters, 100 meters, 200 meters. A lot of that's just based on speed and acceleration. So like speed was just something I've always had, something that came naturally. So I feel like that was the main thing that came from track. And obviously like in track, a lot of the training, you do a lot of jumping, a lot of bounding. So I feel like that like explosiveness like transferred like smoothly into American football. A lot of the drills that you do like during your warm up obviously require like a lot of coordination and stuff. So even like being able to put like my feet in the right place, like back in the day we used to do like a lot of ladder drills, and like naturally I was good at it, and I felt like that came from the fact that I did like a lot of track drills that require you to obviously have like good like coordination, good like proprioception. So I feel like those things just naturally came from the fact that I did track. Although in track you run in a straight line, I feel like a lot of the training actually helped out when I moved from like track to American football. So kind of glad I did that, I guess.
So would you say there was an incentive, or was you actually looking to join, or did you even know about the sport when you got to uni? Or is it a case of, like you mentioned, obviously they asked you to lose weight, you didn't want to lose weight, you wanted to try something different. But was there anything, like had you seen any athletes, were you aware of anybody who played the sport that kind of inspired you to want to take it up? Or was it a case of, I've run track, I have these kind of transferable skills, and I know I can apply that into this sport?
Yeah, so it literally was not specifically American football, where it was okay. I have these skills. You know, what sport would allow me to transfer that? What sport could I run? I still wanted to run. So what sport could I like transfer into? And I think every uni does it. Where you have like that sports fair where you walk around and obviously like different teams will be out and like showcasing what they do. And I guess, and I saw American football. I was like, oh, okay, cool. I've seen the movies. Now I've seen The Blind Side. I've seen The Express. I've seen all these movies. I was like, you know, why not give it a go? In my head, it was a little bit differently to how it was. Like I thought, okay, cool. The girls, the stadium, there's the music playing in the background. But I guess like when I got to my first training session, it was still fun. So I guess from my first session, I knew, okay, cool. Like this is it's new, but I can definitely transfer the skills that I have from having done track. And they told me I didn't need to lose weight. And I was a big like, okay, cool. Like I'm perfect for this. It was perfect.
So I kind of touched on it earlier in terms of you are one of the hardest working running backs or athletes, I'd say, that I personally have seen in both UK and Europe. And again, people watching this and listening to this will attest to that without a doubt.
Thank you.
But what drives you? What is your why? You mentioned from a young age you were involved in track and you was that guy who, you mentioned warm weather training. Not a lot of guys at 13, 14 are even thinking about warm weather training. What is your motivation to be so good at what you do? What is your motivation to work out? What drives you? Because I want to know, and I know other people want to know.
So I think like the main thing for me is that like I just like working out. Like whether it's field stuff, whether it's in the gym, I enjoy that whole process. It's like if I wasn't playing American football, I'd definitely be doing like some sort of sport. And I think I'm just competitive. Like I love competition, and I feel like having started American football, it just makes sense to stay here and keep competing. I feel like whether it's American football or basketball, or like I have a road racing bike and racing my bike, I always find myself feeling the need to compete. And where I've been doing this and I'm good at it, it just makes sense to stay here and keep seeing how far I can go, seeing how good I can get. And I guess I love the sport. I love the fact that like you can't hide on the field, so and people can see like when you're working out hard. And I feel like obviously it brings out a side of me that like people who know me day to day will tell you that I'm a soft guy. I'm a big nerdy guy, so I feel like being on the field allows me to bring out that side of me that people don't really see. Or even like being competitive allows me to bring out that side. Like when I start to get competitive, people be like, "Oh wow, Glenn!" Like, damn, I'll be like, "Yeah, this is really me." Like, I'm that guy. So I feel like,
Absolutely.
yeah, I start competing. I love working out. And obviously, I feel like every year there's always an incentive, whether it's a new league or teams sign good guys. Like, okay, cool. I want to go up against those guys. I want to see how good I really am. So I feel like that need to get better. I need to compete is honestly just what drives me. So yeah.
And with that same drive has taken you to play for a number of teams, ranging from University of Southampton, which is here in the UK. You obviously then go to London Blitz, which is one of the powerhouse teams. If you look at the history of American football in the UK, along with a
Yeah.
number of other teams. But when you go from the UK and you then take your talents to Europe, so that takes you to Dresden Monarchs. Now, what I want to know is moving from the UK, obviously, you know what life is like over here. You have your comforts, you have your living situations. Going over to somewhere different to play in a different league, in this case, the GFL, was that a challenge for you having to move, leave your home, and live somewhere completely different with new faces?
Um, nah. So I feel like it kind of works perfectly when I went to Dresden. So a lot of the imports at that time, that was our first year playing abroad. So even though I was away from home, guys like AJ, guys like TJ, we were all like first year guys living abroad. So it didn't feel like, I was like in a foreign place. I was with guys who were all in the same situation, who always wanted to play better. And I guess like being able to just focus on ball allowed that to be like the focus and keep you like aligned. I can imagine it being different if you go to university, for example, and you end up studying stuff you don't want to study, or like everyone's in a different situation. But like where we were just there to play ball, that was a good experience. Obviously, the team did a really good job of like looking after us. The fans like would like host like tours around the city and stuff like that. so from the get go, I felt like super comfortable. Obviously, being in Germany, it's a little different. There's not not as many black people, or not as many people who speak English. So that obviously took like some adjusting, but I feel like being there to play football at a high level, just hooked me in from the get go. So yeah, it was kind of easy, it was kind of smooth.
And moving on from Dresden, you then moved to Lowlanders. I'm going to let you fill in this bit here.
Bialystok. Lowlanders, Bialystok.
Sorry, guys, I can't pronounce that one. That's slightly difficult. And then you got the Comets as well. Hamburg Sea Devils, where you have a ridiculous season, MVP finalist, most touchdowns in the league, and currently with the Rain Fire, again in Germany as part of the European League of Football. I want to know, having gone from Southampton Stags, London Blitz, and then you take your talents to a number of different combines, the CFO combine, for example, and then to play in Europe, was there anything distinctive that you noticed, given how much time you dedicate to the sport, how much work you put in, and obviously come game day when you're part of this said organisation, looking back at what you experienced here in the UK and what you've experienced whilst you're out in Europe, and obviously you're now with the Rain Fire, what stands out to you in terms of the differences?
I think it's just the love for the game. Like, I wouldn't say that people in the UK don't necessarily love the game, but I feel like, especially if you live in London, there's just so much going on in terms of like work or how big the city is. There's not really time to dedicate to expressing that love for the game. Whereas like when I'm in Germany, I feel like I'm not sure whether it's the work-life balance or it's that the fact that like Germany, that's such a slower pace, it allows for people to express that love that they have for the game. So we're here, like, even practicing once a week is a tough commitment because of work, because of families. In Germany, I feel like because of how like life is set up, it's easy for guys to commit to 2 or 3 days of practice, or like you'll have people who don't even play for the team volunteering their time because, again, like they have that time available. Whereas I feel like in the UK, in London particularly, if you're working 9 to 5, 9 to 6, by the time you get home, like, do I really have time to, to go to training or, volunteer for a team, or, I have work drinks after work. So I feel like the main difference, and I feel like a big thing that's allowed for like leagues in Europe to prosper more than UK, is like having that time. We have NFL games here, and they will sell out, or you have big crowds, and you'll think to yourself, oh Ross, like the love for the game is here. But I feel like, especially in like London and big cities in London, like London, there just isn't that time that people have, to get involved with football, whether it's volunteering or committing more time to playing, or coaching, stuff like that kind of gets in the way of the sport, in comparison to like places like Europe and stuff like that.
So, having named off a number of teams that you've played for, quite high-profile teams as well, given obviously the European League of Football is back up and running, and you've obviously been quite embedded in that league as it is, have you got any particular highlights? I mean, this is going to be difficult for you because I know you got hella highlights all over these teams. Have you got a particular play or moment or a time with any of these teams that really stands out to you?
I'd say last year Hamburg was really fun. I feel like it was more so off the field. I feel like that group of guys are probably like the closest like improv group that I've been a part of. I'm not sure what it is, because I feel like if you meet each of us, like we're all very different. We're all very different, but I feel like even to this day we're still super close. Some of us are still playing in the ELF. Some of us have retired, but we always like find time to FaceTime. I feel like we just all got along really well. So I feel like that like was a moment last. I'm actually making a video about it because I like vlogged a lot of it. That was like a big moment that I really enjoyed. I think the NFL Combine, International Combine, was really fun too. I think that was like their first that they did internationally, like Combine that they did. That was like a big experience, especially only being like after my second year in Europe. A lot of the guys that I know now, a lot of the guys that I play with now, I met a lot of those guys there. I'm at that Combine. That was really cool. But yeah, like you said, I feel like there'll be too many to mention. Like even in terms of gameplay, there's a lot. I think like playing against Dresden when I was at Algwe was like a really fun moment. Obviously, having played there for 2 years, and we went there as the underdogs, but it was nice to play against like a bit against those guys. That was like a really fun moment. Yeah, there's a lot. Like yeah, a few plays in Poland that were
No,
really
I
fun.
can.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
What does it what does it mean to be a dedicated athlete to you?
um, I'd say like so, especially this year, I think like I've really been challenged in terms of like how dedicated I am to the sport. So like last year, for example, I had a training partner. I was training with Mike Akinlade, and that was super easy because I feel like you don't you always take it for granted, but having someone who's gonna message you, you know, what time tomorrow or are you coming tomorrow? Why didn't you turn up? Really has an effect in terms of like your attitude towards training. But this year I did a lot of training on my own, and it's been super tough because there's been days when I've been like, man, like I don't want to train today, but you know I've had to go, and I feel like that had really redefined my idea of dedication because it's the work that you put in when no one's asking you how training's going, or no one's checking up on you, or no one's there to like discipline you or like ask why you're not going. So I feel like that is the idea of discipline because it's easy, especially in the generation where we record everything, where we like to post everything, but when no one's there to really find out if you're training or not. I feel like that really speaks to your dedication for the game and for your sport because it'd be easy for me to, I guess, to not train for a month and nobody know because I train on my own. So I feel like being able to do stuff like, regardless of whether people ask you or not, is like, I guess, is like for me the definition of dedication to the sport.
And in terms of you being a dedicated athlete, in terms of working out and your regime and your methods, have you got a particular exercise or training regime or method that you yourself, you hold in high regard that you do, regardless of whether it rains, snows, or how you're feeling? Is there one thing that you always make sure you do?
My warm up. Guys that have trained with me,
Underrated, man.
guys who see me train will know that like my warm up is long. And I guess coming from a track and field background, they take ages to warm up. So for me, it's the same thing. Like, even on game days, before I team warm up, I like to do my own warm up. That is about like half an hour. Last year, a few of the guys were like, "Ah, Glenn, like, what's your warm up?" And they would join me too. So yeah, like I guess regardless of what session, whether it's an upper body session, low body session, whether it's acceleration or max velocity, I always make sure I warm up. Like you'll never catch me um, turn up and do like a 10-minute warm up. It's always like very long. I'm always looking at how like I can progress it, how I can get more out of it. So I say definitely my warm up is definitely like that's the one thing that never change or that I'll never miss out, regardless of whether it's snowing,
Yeah.
raining, lightning or snow. My warm up
It's
is
interesting
yeah.
because I recall being at the CFL combine and you had all the guys with the trainer doing this huge workout, and then you pan the camera and there's Glen, and Glen's doing his own thing. He's doing his own workout. He ain't taking part in that just yet, and it tests exactly what you're saying because you know how you want to
Yeah, I
get
think it was
right.
more so because one
You know
like
what you need to do to get your warm up in.
right, I was a bit skeptical about like what kind of warm up are they gonna have us doing because I thought normally football like team warm ups are quite quick because we're limited in time. There's a lot of different people, so they're quite general, quite quick. And I also feel like a warm up is also like your time to get in your own zone. So it's a bit differently now. If like I'm having to do warm up with like other people and stuff like that, like you never really get a chance to, I guess, to kind of focus on yourself and kind of like just get in that zone. So I feel like warm up, obviously, it's a chance to warm up my body and get physically ready, but mentally, it's a chance to like get ready for my back to do whether it's a track session or a game. Just that chance to kind of okay, cool, like kind of like yeah, just kind of focus on what needs
Mm-hmm.
to be done really.
What would you say are your personal goals and targets in terms of playing American football? Are you trying to make it to a certain point? Are you trying to play to a certain age? What is it for you?
Um, I feel like honestly, I feel like the ELF is probably the furthest I go. I don't think I'd like to go anywhere else. Like I don't think I'd like to play in Canada right now. I feel like the ELF is where it's at right now. Um, and I guess like the main goal for me, it's quite a very abstract goal, but is for people to like be like yeah, Glen Toonga, he was like the best, like during his time. Like that's just the goal. I feel like there isn't really a way to measure that other than making sure year in year out, regardless of what league I'm playing at, like people know like yeah that year Glen Toonga had a crazy year. Um, so I feel like yeah, I guess that's just my goal really to like after I'm done playing, people to be like yeah man, like during his career, Glen was that guy regardless of where he played. Um, and I need to win a ring. I've never won a ring before at any level, so I'm like I need to win a ring. That will obviously then add to like yeah, Glen Toonga's that
Yeah.
guy. So yeah, I guess that's the general goal of the sport. I'll keep playing until like as long as I can. I feel like obviously like any sport, especially at running back, it gets to a certain point where it's like okay, like you're not as agile, you're not breaking tackles the same way as you used to. Um, and I'll
Oh, I hear
happily
it. I
like
hear it.
it gets to that point, man, where it's like, oh damn, I'm not as sharp as I was. Um, start or like the injuries start
Oh man.
creeping in. So like I'm trying to get done as much as I can, like before I feel like I have another like maybe 3 years. I've never like been injured, thank God for that touch wood. Um, so that's a great step. So trying to stay healthy and yeah, just keep doing as much as I can at the highest level that I can play at.
I'll tell you what's interesting. I didn't want to bring it up, but you bring it up. Injuries. I have never, ever seen you with any kind of injury, either in the flesh or in any. I just doesn't exist for you. What is the secret?
Um, Honestly, I feel like it is the warm up. Um, yeah, it is a warm up, and I think it's the time that I take on workouts. Like when I was training last year with Mike, and obviously Mike's retired. He was like, "Yeah, bro, I'm gonna come a little later than you, because obviously like your warm up is mad long." And I was like, "Yeah, man, like I don't want to get hurt." Or like my sessions will be like I have sessions where like 2 days where I get to the track at like 10, do obviously my sprint workout, have like a little like 20-minute break, then get in the gym, and I'm not done till like 2. Because I'm like proper like particular about what I'm doing. I'm like, man, like if I need to do hamstring care, I'm gonna do my hamstring care. Like if I need to do shoulder care, I'm gonna do all that stuff. I'm gonna make sure like, and it's hard because obviously I program for myself, so sometimes like it gets a bit like overwhelming because there's all these different things that I'm trying to make sure I do. But I do feel like it is my SNC, it is my warm up. So I'm always like very particular about like making sure I do the right things. Like obviously like as much as I want to squat heavy, I'm like, okay, cool. I need to make sure there's time to, do ankle care, do like my barefooted walks. I'll try, if I show you my IG, my saved, it's literally like a bunch of like rehab exercises. Like the minute any little niggle comes in, I'm like, okay, cool. I need to attack this aggressively. And then obviously like physio and stuff like that helps. Like last year, like I had like a few like obviously we get injuries during the season, or a few things that were bothering me. Obviously like physio helps. I'm that guy who if I can book up 5 sessions back to back, I'm gonna book 5 sessions back to back. So yeah, and especially at running back, I feel like for yourself like like injuries are a big thing. Like, always getting hit. So like the more you can do, like even if you have to do extras, it's hard to know like what enough is. So I feel like it's best to over exaggerate, to do more than you should do, as opposed to like
Yeah.
getting injured and then thinking, ah, damn, if only I had done an extra 20 minutes or booked an extra session with physio. So I always feel like it's always best to do more than what you feel is necessary. That way you don't ever have those regrets about should have, could have, would
Yeah.
have.
Definitely a very calculated approach, which speaks to what you like to do in your spare time in terms of coding. So obviously you mentioned the strength and conditioning. I know you like to
Yeah,
code as well, so that goes hand
yeah.
in hand with how structured your. Yeah, it makes a
It's the
lot of
maths.
sense. So this is it does.
It's
It's
the
the
maths
maths,
at
yeah. For
uni.
people listening and people watching, yeah, this is a lot of free tea here. Do your warm ups, do your warm downs. Don't take anything for granted. But Glenn, you have a lot of information. You're almost like a walking bank of knowledge when it comes to the prehab, the rehab, the
Uh-huh.
S&C. When you are done playing football, is there a chance that you want to go into the side of potentially coaching or more of the science behind football? Because it seems like you're well equipped to do that.
So at the moment, I'm a strength and conditioning coach. I'd like to, like, I guess, be able to do that more full time. Because obviously at the moment, like, it's part time. We're obviously with training and having to go away. So I'd like to, like, I guess the goal would be to obviously have like my own program or work with like a really good program, whether that's in football or basketball. I feel like all these sports are very similar in terms of like how athletes move. It's like once you know how athletes move in one sport, it's very easy to like be able to coach athletes in another sport. So yeah, I guess I'd like to dedicate more time to like strength and conditioning and like coaching athletes, whether it is like on the field, on the gym. If I have time, I'd love to be a running back coach. I don't feel like there's many like good RB coaches in Europe, so I feel like that would be great to obviously like, be able to like pass that knowledge on to like running backs coming up. So yeah, I'd love to obviously get more involved in that side of things and like even like I said, like obviously now I'm doing strength and conditioning, just trying to find like little avenues to obviously jump on and yeah.
Yeah. I personally think you're well equipped if you did want to go down that road, because everything you've just been given that free tea, free.
Take it, man. It's free.
Right, yeah. on that note, we're gonna wind things down. But last but not least, when I told people I was going to have you on the show, people's ears kind of pricked up because Glen knows so much. Glen has done so much for the sport. He's killing it in UK, doing the same thing in Europe. So people who are wanting to become, whether it's a running back or just any kind of sport in general, are wanting to do well in their relative fields, what's the one piece of advice you would give to I kind of know what you I think I know what you might say, but what's the one piece of advice you give to these athletes who are trying to make it to the top?
Just learn, man. And let's say you play basketball, don't just learn about basketball, learn about like S&C. I feel like one thing that benefited me was obviously I play American football, but because I went to like, my own programs, it forced me to have to learn about strength and conditioning, and then that forced me to learn a bit of like physiotherapy and like how to stay injury free. So I'd say like, yeah, just soak up as much information. Like, and the thing is like, you might learn the wrong things, and that's fine. Like over time, you'll be able to correct that, and obviously eventually learn that that is the wrong thing. There's things that I've learned that I look back now and I'm like, I was definitely wrong about that. But I feel like if I hadn't learned those things, I wouldn't be in a position to like correct it. So I'd say like to guys obviously coming up, just learn, man. Like learn your position, learn the sport, learn things that will help you be good at your sport. Learn like the roles of people around your sports, like whether it's like other positions or like coaches and stuff like that. Learn those roles. Just basically soak in as much information as you can, and then like that will allow you to focus on what you need to focus on. Obviously, you won't use everything, but having that option there available, having that deck of knowledge, is better than having like less or none. So yeah, just learn, man. Like ask questions, be curious. Yeah.
Well, there you have it. That brings us to the end of the show. Glen, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me, man.
A lot of great tea from this one. Man, it's been great. It's been great. I've taken a lot. Although I don't play anymore, I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, I'm going to take that down. I'm going to take that down as well. So I appreciate you coming on the show. All I can say is I wish you the best in your upcoming season with the Rainfire and the European League.
Thank you, man.
I hope you ball out. I know you're going to ball out already.
I'm going to try my best.
Until the next episode. I already know. I've been George from Georgeonsports, talking with Glen Toonga, running back of the Rainfire from the European League of Football, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you very much, guys. Take care.